Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions operate on a distinctive funding model based on unit contributions. In this funding model, the grant amount is not determined based on actual costs, but by the number of consumed units. In this case, a unit represents a person month, which is a month of work by a researcher working full-time on the project. MSCA grants encompass two primary budget categories: contributions for recruited researchers and institutional contributions, each further segmented based on specific schemes. Contributions for recruited researchers comprise the living allowance, covering total remuneration costs, the mobility allowance, addressing additional private mobility-related costs, and the family allowance designed for fellows with families. In Marie Skłodowska-Curie staff exchanges, living, mobility, and family allowances are not covered. Instead, the top-up allowance is provided to cover the costs associated to the secondment of staff. Institutional contributions include the research, training, and networking contribution, covering training and networking costs pivotal to fellows' career development, and the management and indirect contribution, addressing the host institution's extra costs related to the project. In certain circumstances, the host institution can claim a long-term leave allowance for costs incurred during fellows' extended leaves, and a special needs allowance for additional costs associated with acquiring items and services for fellows with disabilities. Individual contribution amounts, along with country correction coefficients for the living allowance, are predetermined in the work program. The MSCA's predefined unit contributions streamline budgeting and eliminate the need for specialized cost planning knowledge. The budget table is an integral part of the online proposal, with automatic calculations based on data from administrative forms. For example, the key factors determining the total budget in staff exchanges are the number of seconded researchers and the number of planned person months. For global postdoctoral fellowships, planned person months, the country-specific correction coefficient for the living allowance, and the family status of the fellow. What are the specifics of selected schemes? Postdoctoral fellowships aim to boost the creative and innovative capabilities of researchers with a PhD. They can take place in Europe or in a third country not associated to Horizon Europe. For the global postdoctoral fellowships that are implemented in third countries, different country correction coefficients are automatically applied for two phases: the outgoing phase, which is implemented in a partner organization in a third country, and the return phase, which is carried out in a host institution in the EU or a country associated to Horizon Europe. Even though the budget of the partner organization is explicitly outlined in the budget table, only the host institution located in the EU or a country associated to Horizon Europe will be officially designated as the grant beneficiary. Doctoral networks aim to establish doctoral programs through collaborations between organizations from various sectors across Europe and beyond. In the doctoral network scheme, specific individuals to be employed on the project are not known during the budget preparation phase. The budget table, therefore, assumes an estimate that family allowance will be obtained by a maximum of 75% of the researchers. When drafting the budget, keep in mind that no more than 40% of the EU contribution can be assigned to beneficiaries within the same country, or to a single international European research organization or international organization. Co-fund scheme enhances training and career development programs at regional, national, and international levels. The scheme assumes co-financing. The project budget is the sum of the EU contribution, automatically calculated based on the number of requested person months and other sources, whether institutional or acquired from regional, national, or international programs. The rules do not specify the required share of co-financing. They only specify the minimum monthly salary that researchers should receive. The grant amount depends on the number of planned person months. Therefore, budget transfers among partners can only occur due to transferring person months between partners. Transfers between budget categories are not possible due to the specific nature of unit costs. The financial statement is automatically filled out based on reported person months, and the automatically calculated amounts cannot be edited. However, with institutional contributions, the host institution may decide on their use. In projects involving multiple beneficiaries, institutional contributions between partners can be redistributed as agreed in the consortium or partnership agreement. In practice, the coordinator often requests that each partner provide a portion, for example, 50% of their contribution for management and indirect costs. The budget table becomes a separate annex to the grant agreement. As a rule, the maximum grant amount cannot be increased. An exception applies when the family status of the researcher changes during the project implementation, or if the institution requests a contribution for long-term leave or special needs. In these cases, an increase in the approved grant amount may be possible. Recruited researchers often overlook that the living allowance, and in some countries also mobility and family allowances, are subject to mandatory deductions and taxation. Consequently, the net amount paid to their bank accounts is substantially lower than the monthly figure outlined in the grant agreement. Additionally, it is important to note that institutional contributions are administered by the host institutions, and as a standard practice, these contributions are not directly transferred into the researcher's bank accounts.